too small? Like,
what?
You're so big. Your face is so big. Mine is so small.
Because I'm a big guy, you know?
No, I don't know. That's what I don't know. Brilliant, brilliant. Welcome to the CIA.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to finally be on.
All good with you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I've actually I've just got back from Spain. So I had like a nice 10 days out there. Back for a week now.
And then back to Spain again for 10 days more? Or?
Yeah, so I went for 10 days to sort of scout it out, tried a couple of routes and then tried my projects, and then I've come back for a week to regrow some skin and stuff. And yeah, I'm really psyched to get back because I got pretty close.
You get pretty close, yeah. And I mean, this was actually you sent the Gancho Perfecto, was it right?
Yeah, Gancho Perfecto is the
which is actually the hardest route you ever sent, isn't it?
Yeah, it was actually. It's a bit strange because I haven't been outdoor climbing in like 2 years, so I think my level kind of went up from all the training I did for the Olympics, but it didn't necessarily translate onto the rock until now. So it's nice to go back feeling a lot stronger.
Is it a strange feeling to because it's a different element compared to the competitions, obviously?
Yeah, it's completely different. And I actually forgot how much I loved it. I think I've always been an outdoor climber as well as a competition climber, but with all the training and stuff for the Olympics and all of that, I sort of forgot how much I actually loved outdoor climbing. And then as soon as I got there, it's like it was so satisfying almost just to start projecting.
Cool. So I'm sure we will get back to that, but
yeah,
we should try to get this in some kind of order. So
okay.
Usually we start with sort of from the beginning, which makes kind of sense, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, you were, and you are still a prodigy. Can you say that?
I guess. I mean, it's I think it's my second full year on the circuit, on the senior circuit. This year was. So there's still moments where it feels a bit surreal.
Yes, but I mean, it started way earlier than this. You were the first of so many things in Britain. I mean, you climbed did 8A at 10 and 8B at 11, did 9A at 15, and so on. But the first real question would be, did you choose climbing or did climbing choose you?
I guess a bit of both. I mean, I started in an after school club. I had no idea about climbing before I started. And the very first time I pulled onto the wall, I was pretty much hooked. I remember my parents almost, I went to this after school club, and then by the time I was finished, I was pretty much broken because I just wouldn't stop until I'd done this climb. And my parents are a bit confused to start with. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then it sort of took off from there, really. Yeah, so I guess a bit of both. I found climbing and climbing found me. I was hooked as soon as I started.
So you have no climbers in the family or like friends or something?
No, so that was the very first deal with climbing I ever had, was that after school club. My parents weren't climbers. We didn't know any climbers. Yeah, that was the first ever experience climbing, and we sort of learned from that point there. Which I guess is nice, because I think a lot of people are sort of pushed straight into climbing, but to find it by myself and find something which I was really passionate about is really nice from such an early age.
And what age was this actually?
This was 7, when I was 7 years old.
The 7-year-old, okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, or well, the first few years, I guess, who were your role models or idols?
Well, I guess very early on, I was when I was really quite young, I really liked watching Akio. Akio was one of my role models, and then as I sort of grew up and climbed a lot more, I'd say obviously Janja and Jakob Schubert. Jakob especially, as I was going up through the ranks, because I just saw that he just became more and more impressive to me, how he can keep doing it for so many years. I think it's one thing to sort of do it for 1 or 2 years and get some good results and then sort of taper off. But to be so consistently the best is just a whole nother thing. So that was really cool to me.
So he's still your role model now, or who are those?
Yeah. I'd say Jakob. Yeah, he's really inspiring to me. Even watching him at the World Championships, obviously I'm competing against him, and it's all really competitive. Um, but it still feels kind of surreal competing with him in that sense.
Looking at the your trajectory, so to speak, like coming up through the ranks, you said from 10 years old, was it sort of to you inevitable that you would one day become the Olympics champion? Would it feel like that?
It was definitely not inevitable. I think I've just always loved climbing and training, and it sort of just went step by step. When I first started climbing, my first ever time in a climbing center was a competition, like an actual climbing center, and I remember coming last at that and just being terrible, and that just got me so psyched. And every time I sort of get beaten, I'll be like, how are these people? How are they better than me? How can they do that and I can't? And it always just strive. I would always strive to get better. So it sort of came in stages. I'd go to this competition, I'd get this result, and I'd enter a national competition, I'd get that result, and then that slowly turned into like European competitions and the European youths, and then that slowly turned into like senior competitions. So it never seemed like I made like one massive jump. It all just came in stages. It's been quite a long journey to get to here, and it hasn't felt like it's just suddenly happened.
I mean, from the outside, it looks very different. From the outside, it looks like you're going just career, just shooting straight up, and it's a completely different feeling when you're inside the career, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to look from the outside and gone, oh, he went on this senior circuit there, and then it was all just sunshine and rainbows. There was no problems, and shot and started winning. But no, like there's many hard times. There was many stressful times. There was selections within like the GB team where I had to hit quotas and stuff. Otherwise, I just simply wouldn't be going to the Olympics. So I remember when I was like 15 or 16, there were some very stressful selection events where I wasn't necessarily on the senior team, like in the senior field, even within GB, and I had to basically go to these selection comps and do really well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a chance to make it to the next stage. And for me, that was to get onto the World Cup team, to be able to go to the World Championships and have a possibility of qualifying. So there's definitely been some very stressful times where I've had to hit markers.
So what was that already at 15? Was a clear goal for you to Paris Olympics, or was it happens if it happens, or was it like I'm going there? You know,
I think the Olympics has been my sole focus ever since it was introduced into Tokyo, and this was when I was really quite young, like 12, 13. And there wasn't even a possibility of going to Tokyo because I was just too young. But I instantly set my sights on Paris if it was going to be included. And I remember watching the Tokyo Olympics. We were actually on a training trip in Innsbruck whilst watching the Tokyo Olympics, and it just got me so psyched. And after watching that, I was like, yeah, that looks incredible. I want to do everything possible to go to Paris and be competitive there. And that's when sort of the plan started for the Olympics.
So were you sad that that speed is not part of the combined anymore?
I will say I'm very happy. I did train a little bit of speed for youth competitions when I thought it was going to be in the combined, but I'm pretty happy that I didn't have to dedicate a significant amount of time like a lot of the people in Tokyo did. It's not to say I don't find speed incredible, and it's obviously a really cool discipline. I just don't really enjoy it, and I don't want to be forced into a sport which I essentially don't really like. So I'm really happy it's separated, and I do like the combined.
And about that, looking forward towards LA, we don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, what it's going to look like in terms of disciplines. What's the ideal outcome for you?
To be honest, I would really like to see the discipline split out. Whilst I really do like the boulder and lead combined, I love that format. I've always been a lead climber and a boulderer, so training both of the disciplines, it never felt like a chore, whereas some people were forced to do like another one. But I think individual medals in speed, boulder and lead, and then a separate combined medal would be really cool. Because you see these other sports like swimming, you have like Michael Phelps getting all of these gold medals. It just adds such a different level of mastery almost. So to have to go there and an opportunity to get multiple medals, it's just really cool to me. And so if there is 4 different medals for the Olympics, I'll be trying to like balance all the disciplines. I know that'll be incredibly hard, like competing against people who are specializing in one discipline. But to me, that's just such a cool challenge to take on. And yeah, like thinking about it now, I think it would just be so cool to have more medals. And I think it deserves it as well. Like climbing was pretty well received, I think.
If you have to choose just one discipline, which one would it be for Olympics? Like
I mean, that's a really, really hard question, but I think it would be lead climbing.
Yeah.
I do really love like the crowd, the whole atmosphere of a lead competition. That's really cool to me. And fighting hard on the head wall is really nice. But yeah, it's a bit bitter. So I wouldn't leave bouldering. I would never leave bouldering.
Getting back to, I mean, you had obviously high expectations on yourself or demands or what you want to call it. And I got a question here from Instagram. Maybe you read the questions already from Instagram.
I read a few of them on the post. Yeah.
I got it. So maybe you know the one that Molly was on the some podcast and said that no one really on the GB team were surprised that things went so well for you in 2023.
Yeah.
So does this mean that the team and coaches always had high expectations of you as well?
I think it's true to a point. I mean, I've always pushed myself really hard. I've always really like trying hard and getting the absolute maximum out of myself, and often leaving a competition if I didn't do something, I'll be like quite dissatisfied with myself, and I'd want to fix that and learn what I did to get better. But yeah, in 2023, I didn't expect to like break onto the circuit. Like, I mean, I don't think you can ever expect to do really well. You can be really diligent in training. You can do all of that. You can train really hard, but you can never expect to go in and win. I think expecting to win almost is can be detrimental. But yeah, I think within the GB team, I was definitely slowly making my way up through the ranks. I was definitely getting stronger and stronger. And then when that 2023 season sort of hit, at the first selection event, I really hit some good form. I did really, really well in selections, and that was my first kind of breakthrough result. And then after I got selected, then it was my first World Cup, and I had a pretty good runnings there. And then slowly, as each World Cup went on, my results were starting to get slowly and slowly better, and finding more consistency. But yeah, to me, it just feels so surreal. I could never have expected to do that well that quickly. And yeah, looking back on it now, it's just such a it just feels so nice to look back on.
But in hindsight, those great results you had at the beginning of 2023, basically like the first part of the season,
yeah,
meant that you came into the World Championships as one of the favorites.
Yeah.
Did this put too much pressure on you?
Yeah.
Or
that to me was really, really strange. But I'd never known what it was like to climb with pressure. I've always just been the guy who trains hard, goes to the competitions. There's never really been that much pressure. But after suddenly breaking through onto the season, getting some pretty good results, winning a couple of World Cups, I think, before the World Championships. Suddenly, when I got to the World Championships, I just felt like a mountain of pressure. It was strange to me because I'd never felt pressure in that way. And I think that was probably the reason why I didn't qualify at the World Championships, is because by the end of that competition, there was just like a massive like weight on my shoulders. I wasn't climbing very well. I still had obviously the physical capacity. I was still in good shape, but I was just not climbing like I knew I could. And I actually learned a lot of stuff from that World Championships about what it takes to be like a world-class climber, what it takes to be consistent. And going back to like my role models as well, that's what's really impressive about like Jakob is how he's been at the top of his game for so long. I think once you've mastered the art of like pressure and handling it, it doesn't become detrimental. It actually adds to you. So now I've learned a tiny bit. I've learned more how to deal with pressure. It sort of adds to my performance more. I can use that as sort of fire and drive instead of letting it be a burden on me.
So did you actually make any changes before Laval? Because it looked like a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like, or was it just by chance, or like, because it's only 2 months between those comps?
Yeah. it's only 2 months, but there was a hell of a lot of change in that 2 months.
Yeah.
I basically completely, it wasn't anything physical. I just completely shifted my whole mindset in the World Championships. I didn't actually enjoy the competition. I it was so stressful, and I didn't. And looking back on it now, it wasn't a very enjoyable time for me. So the whole of the months between World Championships and Laval, I just focused on just having a really, really good time climbing. I went on a few trips, like I went to France and traveled around some of the gyms, training with friends. I've got a good coaching team, like one of the GB coaches called Liam, I'm really good friends with as well, and my dad, obviously. We just went around just loads of gyms, just having a good time, not necessarily training, but just really enjoying the competitions, doing some simulation, really enjoying the trainings, doing some simulations. And by the time I actually got to the competition, I was just in a really good mindset. And I went into Laval with the mindset of, it doesn't matter if you qualify or not. It just simply doesn't matter. Just go in and enjoy the competition, and whatever happens, happens, basically. And I think the final route in Laval is probably some of the proudest climbing I've ever done, because I just simply didn't let the whole Olympics thing get into my head, and I just enjoyed the final route.
Nice. Did you do some mental coaching as well, or?
No, there wasn't anything. There wasn't any specific mental coaching in that sense. But I think I debriefed and went through the whole competition and my experiences with my dad, which I guess is sort of mental coaching in that way, or it helps me sort of break it down in my head. So I guess it could be seen as mental coaching, but it was sort of just having a good time and just remembering why I like climbing and why I got into it. And I like competitions, I like trying hard, and I like enjoying my time, and that really helped me.
So your dad, he's your coach as well, right?
Yeah. So I guess I've got two coaches. I've got my dad, and I've got Liam, who's one of the GB coaches currently.
How is it working with your own father? Like it must be like kind of special.
Yeah. Well, it's really, really nice. My parents have supported me ever since I started climbing when I was just 7 years old, and to have that kind of support, I'm just so grateful for. Whenever something doesn't go to plan, or whenever I'm not feeling so good, I always have them to speak to, and it helps me because I know they've always 100% got my back. I think when it's not someone who you're really, really close with, you can't fully trust them. I know that anything I say to them, their response is going to be within my best interest, and that's just really nice to have at a competition, and especially some like the World Championships. I think it just really, really helped to have someone I'm so close with who's also my coach, and it helped me become better, really.
So it's mostly like the mental part of the game, or?
No, he does also do all of the training part and the physical conditioning and the day-to-day sessions. But yeah, I guess the mental part is just a small part of like a big picture, really.
For those of you who haven't watched it, this is, the 1 hour well, I will call it documentary, really, about the video, the road to, and the road to Paris, basically, and you winning Paris. It's I encourage everyone to watch it. It's so good, and that's the reason why we want to have so many questions actually about Paris, because if one is interested in that story, watch it.
Yeah, it's like 1 year of like all of my mindset, climbing and training condensed into the 1 hour, basically. So yeah, it took quite a lot of effort.
One question though about Paris. During the final climb, when you climb, the final route, the pressure was enormous, obviously, and I know you climb really well, and you could focus on that. But could you take in the atmosphere at all while climbing?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to, the moments before that final lead route is the most nervous I've ever been for a competition in my entire life. Well, it's understandable, obviously, but yeah, that was insane. I remember waiting there ready to go out, and my heart was like pounding. I was listening to some music before to try and get me in the zone, but what was really nice, as soon as I pulled onto the wall, all of that just went away, and it was just me, the wall, and in the moment. I remember because the route was it kind of climbed quite steadily. There wasn't too many surprises. It was quite just an endurance route. There were moments where I could sort of just chill out and take in all of the atmosphere behind me, all of the cheering. But coming down from that route when I fell off, that was really surreal. Seeing that whole crowd there cheering was just, yeah, it was also really nice to see climbing get the recognition. All of those people were there to watch climbing. It's just really, really cool to see it on the big stage.
But when you're on the route climbing, what goes through your mind? Is it just a climbing and you're calm and collected, or is it more like don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, or like...
I think if you're in the don't fuck up stage, then you've messed up. That's when I've had some routes like that, and that's when you don't climb very well. That's when you miss a clip, you do something stupid. But before I got on that final climb, I just said, look, just take it move by move, just fully relax. That's when you climb your best. Just think about the next move only, and yeah, just relax. And I'm really, really happy with how I climbed on that route, because I just totally relaxed into it. Even the semi-final, just like before, a couple of days before, I climbed that really sort of not great, and I know it was a sketchy route, but I really overpulled and I didn't do my best climbing. But I think semi-finals is almost more pressure than finals, because yeah, semi-finals you almost feel like you're going to lose if you fall off, but when you make it to finals, then it's just about you're in finals, you can just sort of enjoy it.
Do you think this will change now in the future? I mean, that you really, I mean, maybe it's the same thing, but I mean, the more of a favorite you are, the more you're expected to reach finals. I mean, I guess it's even more of a relief than if you reach the final then.
Yeah, I think with the more competitions I do, I think the better I'm able to handle the pressure. I've also said, like, you don't really know what experience is. You sort of just like have it. You can't explain that feeling, but just after an accumulation of competitions, you just get really experienced. And especially now, I think I'm able to handle that pressure way better. So when I go out in front of a big crowd, or if I'm coming off the back of a win in a World Cup or something, I feel I'm able to use that as sort of as more of a driving factor than let it sit on me. You can take it in two ways. You can let it weigh you down, or you can really use that and go like, yes, I am at this level, I can do this. So there's two ways of looking at it, I think.
Of course.
How is it in normal life? You know, like now you are Olympic champion, and probably many people, they know who you are, and you go for training or for climbing. Yeah. How is it for you?
It's been definitely been a change. I was sort of used to being recognized within like a climbing environment or a training environment. I sort of got used to that, but what I was really strange is when I'm just, I don't know, down shopping for like in a shopping store or something, or going to the shops and then suddenly getting recognized. That was really strange to me, because I'm always just seeing myself as a climber. I just love climbing. I don't see myself as anything different other than that. I don't see myself as famous or anything. So to get recognized in that way is really, really strange. But yeah, it's nice to see climbing get quite a lot of recognition.
Yeah, so getting back to an earlier question there about role models, you are one now.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it does feel really, I think it's so cool to inspire like the next generation. Because I remember being young and being really inspired, or still inspired by the legends of today, and to know that you've played a part in someone else's journey is really, really cool. So to see getting lots of messages and stuff from kids and stuff who said, "Oh, I saw you on the TV on the Olympics, and I got into climbing." Even older people who like middle-aged people who are like, "Oh, I never knew climbing was so accessible. I've just gone down to my local wall." It's just really, really cool to just see so many people get into it. Because when I started, it was still really, really, really small, and no one really knew. It was quite niche, but now I think it's getting more mainstream. It's cool to see.
And does this make you more or less self-conscious, sort of when you're at the gym doing, weight kinds of training, or climbing or in Margalef, like everyone knows who you are?
Yeah, it does. I guess a little bit more self-conscious at times, but I think because it's all still quite novel and new to me, I'm not used to so many people recognizing me. But I think it's just another thing you have to learn. Like I was talking to Alberto about his experiences after Tokyo, and yeah, he said it was just crazy. He couldn't believe it. So I think it would just take some time to get used to it. But yeah, definitely just being at the crag and then noticing there's some people watching you, it can feel a bit different and maybe a bit it can be a bit nerving sometimes. But I think it's just something you get used to, and it's just a really nice thing. I think people are inspired and like to see it.
So maybe last question about the Olympics.
Yeah.
What, if anything, could you have done better?
Oh, what could I have done better? I mean, there's an obvious one. On the semi-final boulder round, I remember coming in to match the top hold, and I hadn't looked to where the tape was. So I thought the tape was the finishing tape was on the hold. So I so I go around to match the tape where I thought it was, but it was actually on the volume. So I ended up like peeling off and ending up not getting the maximum points when I could have just matched into the volume and got the easy top. But luckily that didn't change my. I still got into finals, but I'm just imagining if that was the reason why I didn't make it to finals, I would have been like, God, that would have been hard. I think from my part, the Olympics ran pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, quite happy with how it went. And it was really cool to be in that environment as well. I didn't quite know what to expect. But being in the village was really nice. The whole scale of the Olympics is just crazy. It was nothing like I've ever been a part of before. So it all ran pretty smoothly, I think.
So would you do the preparation exactly the same way?
I think so, more or less, yeah.
Because there was one instance there where when you went to Tokyo and you were sort of you didn't perform at all as you thought you would anyway, and it came down to, I mean, of course you trained not too hard, but you trained really hard. You broke down your body, and of course you can't see the result that quickly.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, in hindsight, that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
And it was the plan as well, it seems, from your coach's perspective. And how come they didn't tell you that?
I mean, they definitely did. I mean, it was hard that time because I was just so tired. I was from all of the training, but what they definitely didn't do, my coaches, they didn't just say, oh yeah, it's all going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. They did just tell me that, yeah, maybe we have got it wrong. Maybe it's not right, but just give it a couple of weeks, a couple of months, see how you're feeling, see what happens. And then we'll reconvene in a bit. And as it turns out, it obviously it was the right plan. And after a couple of weeks, I started to feel a lot better than I was. And yeah, but because it's quite new, all of this training, all of this really serious like set training for me. You don't know, you might have got it wrong. And climbing's still relatively new sport. No one knows the perfect training method. And I don't think you can give a set plan to anyone and have that work. I think it's so individual. You almost have to learn how it works for you. So I'm obviously still quite young. So it's just been so valuable to have all of this information, all of these months and years training, because now I can adapt on that and make it more efficient for me. And my next year's training is going to be even better than this year, hopefully. So it's all just about adapting to the task at hand, I think, and accepting that it's not always going to be easy.
Right, and this 16 days on, 2 days off is not for everyone, you're saying?
No, that was a bit of that. I don't know what happened there. That wasn't the best. But yeah, I was not good after that.
I thought it sounded a bit lazy with days off for Christmas and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, 3 days off Christmas. God. Yeah, thinking back to some of those sessions, it was miserable, but it paid off.
But did you always follow the training plan, whatever it says? You know, your coach says training, 16 days in a row. You never question it.
I never followed it like 100% strictly. I think it's always incredibly important to follow your body. So there were times when I was really tired and there was still stuff left on my plan. And I'm always really like driven. I always want to do the training. So I was saying, yes, I want to do it. I want to go to the gym. I want to do it. And then my dad was saying, no, that's enough now. That you don't need to do that. And then just take it off. I think it's incredibly important to adapt, otherwise, and listen to your body. Otherwise, you will just break. I think your body's so good at telling you what it needs and what it doesn't need, and just pushing that one bit extra sometimes. Whilst most of the time it's pretty good to push extra hard, sometimes it is just about backing off and resting.
And as a competitor, I mean, talking about the process here, how difficult is it? Because you always want to win if you enter a competition, I guess. Yeah. So how difficult is it to be able to realize that you can't focus on always winning? You have to have some worse comps.
Yeah.
Because
that can definitely be hard, especially within training, because you always want to feel good when training. You want to feel strong. You don't want to feel weak. You don't want to be falling off moves which you know you've done before. But it's really about accepting that and accepting that you're not always going to be in your peak shape. So during some of those trainings and some of those earlier competitions when I'm not necessarily in my peak shape, it's just really about accepting that, yes, but before you've even gone into that competition, like accepting that it's not going to go well necessarily, and just going in there and giving everything, even though you know you're not in your peak shape. But as like a world-class competition climber, you can't be on the top of your game 100% of the time. It's just not possible. So it's just about accepting that not everything's going to be easy.
But it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Speaking of easy, we get this question all the time. How difficult would you say the problems and routes are in the different rounds on average?
Yeah, this is an incredibly hard question. I think with lead, I can give you like a much better estimate. I think lead is probably semi-finals, finals is probably around 80 plus 9A. And qualifiers it's quite varied. Sometimes you can get like an easy qualification where it's like even 180 plus and even an 8B really, I think sometimes. But in bouldering it's really, really hard, I think.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Because of all of the crazy different styles and everything. Oftentimes it's not ever physically at your limit. It's just about working it out in 5 minutes, but you're probably not getting anything really easier than 7C boulder, probably. And some of the hard, powerful climbers were probably like 8B plus maybe. But then it's just the time constraint which makes it so hard.
And about that, I found it really interesting that I mean, going into the seasons before, your favorite boulders were the power boulders, right? And your weakness was slabs and laches and coordination, and it sort of switched. Was this only because you switched your training, or was it you think the styles changed somehow?
This was really strange because I've always loved power boulders. I've always been a very powerful climber, I think. And when I realized that I'm going to have to really work hard on slabs and dynos and laches and the modern style of bouldering, which I previously wasn't very good at, I had to put a lot of work into that. I think it's a bit of both. I trained it really hard, and also I think the style sort of shifted. There's definitely a lot more sort of movement style boulders these days, and weird movements that you have to really try and master in a short amount of time. And obviously laches were like exploded out of nowhere, and now they're pretty much in every single competition. So I think climbing sort of finding its way in bouldering almost, because every different season it seems to be something different. So I'm not sure if it's going to stay like that, if it's going to keep changing, or if it's going to settle down maybe for the Olympics and it's going to be more standardized. But for bouldering especially, I think we're always having to adapt and learn different techniques and stuff. And for me to see the improvement in that style was really satisfying, because I really wasn't very good at some of the swingy stuff before, and slabs I used to really struggle with, and now slabs are probably one of my biggest strengths. It's really satisfying to say that, and to do well in the Olympics as well, pretty much because of a slab as well, and know that in the semi-finals I was able to top a slab like in the dying seconds, and to get me into the finals was just it feels really, really good when you work something so hard and then see all the progress. But honestly, I don't know what's going on with bouldering. The style just keeps changing every season, but yeah, we'll see.
So what do you think about no-techs?
No, I'm not the biggest fan. No, those no-tex holds. Yeah, I don't like because there seems to be a lot of different ways of doing it. You can like spray your hands with water or rhino skin, like spit and stuff, and it seems to. I don't like it when what product you use sort of determines how well you do on the hold. I think it's nice just to keep it like, are you strong, or can you get your body in? Just keep it like it's climbing. But if it's in the competitions, then there's no excuses. I've put some work into it. I've used it, and I've had to learn how to deal with it. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah, and also I think it's really weird when you mix it, when you have like the first holds are no-techs and you have to apply something, and you want for the next holds a sloper, and you want something else, right?
Yeah. So you're taking a chalk bag up suddenly, and it's like it's like a choose your weapon almost.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, actually, about that, how is your skin? How good or bad is your skin?
I have incredibly dry skin, so it's quite nice during the summer and where all the comps are. When the temperature goes up, my skin stays really nice and dry, and I don't have too many problems. But it's during the winter when it gets really cold, my skin gets so cracked, and I find it really hard to train in cold environments. But I guess I'm quite blessed with pretty good skin, I think, which is nice.
I read somewhere, well, on your own website, I suppose, that you obsessed about your skin and your skin routine, and do you have a special skin routine, or is it different every day?
I mean, now I'm outdoor climbing. Yes, I'm constantly fussing about my skin, trying to sand it and everything. But it's during the winter when I really, really take a lot of care of my skin, because if I forget to sand it and then it splits, it just makes training so much more painful and a lot harder. So every single night I'm moisturizing. There's got this cream. It's Elizabeth Arden, like 8-hour repair. It's like I don't know, like a beauty cream or something, but it's so good. It's so good at moisturizing the splits. So I'm using that every night to try and keep it moisturized. But other than that, not too many other things. I make sure I file it down to keep it nice and smooth. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my skin, really.
Getting back to you're basically getting into every final now. So do you practice your smile in front of the mirror before the presentations?
No, I don't practice. I've always found that a really hard part of competitions, actually coming up for presentation. I never know what to do with myself. Like, where do I put my arms? What do I do with my face? It can feel quite strange when like all the cameras are pointing at you, everyone's looking at you, and then you're suddenly like, wait, how do I breathe again? But it's I guess with the more competitions and more finals I'm getting more used to it. But
yeah, I guess it's the same for everyone.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever be a model. I don't think I'll ever be on the red carpet. I couldn't deal with that.
Well, we'll see what the future holds, huh?
Yeah.
And for this season, this is a question from Instagram. What was your favorite competition boulder and lead climb of the season 2024?
My favorite boulder was probably the finals power boulder in the Olympics. The black one. I think I was the only top on that one, I think, and I think it was one of the first proper power boulders I topped in the whole season, and it was just incredibly satisfying to see all of it come together there. And my favorite lead climb was probably the Copper World Cup finals, which after the Olympics, I really, really like that route. So yeah, that would be my selection.
One question about the competition, actually. What are you doing in isolation if you're waiting for the comp? How do you spend your time there?
Yeah, so I've spent like many hours in isolation, but what's really nice is I often have my coaches in there, and I like Liam, I get on really well with. So most of the time we're just sort of joking and making a lot of banter, playing cards or whatever, and just passing the time. But what's really hard is not to do too much, because when you're in isolation for hours and there's a spray wall there and there's a lot of strong climbers, it's easy to get sucked in. So I think the most important thing for me is just distracting myself so I don't end up on the wall for too long. Because the competition happens out on the mats. It doesn't happen in the spray wall in warm up. Yeah, so most of the time we're just laughing and just having a good time, really trying to relax.
So do you watch the other climbers, on the spray wall to show off like their strength?
I think that's a dangerous trap.
Yeah,
Getting into an ISO competition. I mean, I've done it before. I think in the past, just started trying really hard in ISO, and it never works out well for the competition. Often the winner in ISO isn't the winner in the competition. So I think it's important just to stick with your process, stick with what you know works, and don't deviate from that. Although it is really nice to warm up with the other climbers as well. And as most of the competitions are just a good time.
Do you see a lot of the less experienced climbers calling for that? I mean,
yeah, definitely. It's easy to see people who are quite new on the set, quite new. I mean, I'm still pretty new when I first started in 2023. It's quite daunting walking into an isolation, seeing all like really big names. So you can definitely see people pretty nervous and over warming up. I think I did that in my first in 2023. I think it was the Hachioji Boulder World Cup. I remember going in there and I was like kind of intimidated a bit. Not intimidated, but it's just seeing all these top climbers suddenly there who you're used to watching on TV. You almost don't want to get in their way almost, but you can't think of it like that. You got to think of it like, yes, I'm at this level. I'm at this World Cup. These people aren't better than me. I can compete with them, and just convince yourself that you have the right to be there, and try and just go about that your own process. But it can definitely be hard.
And the more you're getting into it, the more these people are your friends. I guess, which is interesting. It seems you and Sorato have become really good friends. And competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, you go.
No. So, what's your take on that? Like, what's it like?
Yeah. So, to suddenly be competing with a lot of these top guys, at first it can be intimidating, but what you realize is they are pretty nice. They are just nice guys as well, and they're not out to get you. They know what it's like to be the first on the circuit, and they're not trying to get in your head or anything. And it's just good. You just got to go and mix with them, I think. And now that I can say I'm really good friends with them, which is really nice. But especially with Sorato, what's been really nice is that we were competing in the youth scene together. Like I remember my first competition with him was the Dallas Youth World Championships. I remember I think he was first in lead and I was second, and he was third in Boulder and I was second. And I remember that was my first dealings with him, and it's so nice to like go through the ranks like alongside him, because he's obviously an incredible climber, and still sometimes I don't know how he makes some climbs look so effortless. It's just crazy, but also it's really nice to have him like as a friend, a training partner. But at the end of the day, we are also competitors, and we want to beat each other. So it's a nice relationship, I think.
Do you discuss beta sometimes, or how does it work?
Yeah, we do. I think obviously I don't speak Japanese, and Sarasi doesn't speak fluent English. I mean, his English is getting a lot better, but so it's nice to have some conversations with him. Yeah, I guess we share betas sometimes.
But you'd rather read with someone else, I guess, who can.
Yeah, I've always been
better.
It's not necessarily that. I've always liked reading routes and stuff by myself. It's not to say I don't like talking to other people about beta and stuff. I always like to go through it by myself, and then after I've gone through it with myself, and then I ask. I think it's so easy to get into the trap of over like looking at a route too much and over analyzing it. I definitely see that in with some people who are less experienced on the circuit, is they just go over the route in isolation after so many times, where it gets to the point where you're just overcomplicating it. You just got to go and climb it. Because I think if I spent too long looking at a route and going through all of the minute like accuracies and stuff, then I wouldn't actually climb it very well.
And I guess it's going to be different to what you think anyway. In some ways, like the holes are not exactly what you think, and you know.
Yeah, there's definitely been a few times where I've gone for a route, I've got the beta pretty down, and I've got on the route and it's climbed completely differently. Like Innsbruck, at the Innsbruck World Cup, the lead route. I don't know if you remember, it was really hard. So we all looked at that route and go, "Oh, it doesn't look so bad. It doesn't look so bad." And then every single one of us at the end of it was like, "That was the hardest route I've ever tried." I think that was probably the hardest comp route I've ever tried. The Innsbruck lead finals.
But do you like that? Like it's really hard from the beginning, or do you like more when it's
I really like that. Yeah, just straight away, just intensity. It's really nice.
Do you change sometimes beta if somebody tells you, you know, some different beta, or you keep your own?
I think most of the time I try and stick with what I've gone through. But if like I said, if I get there and then, oh, maybe that does make sense, then I do change. It's not like it's not like I take it as gospel. I like to climb intuitively. I like to see how it feels when I get on the wall.
So next year, 2025 should be more of a normal World Cup season than before. How do you plan to take it on? Will you do all the comps or cherry pick, or?
I think I'll do most of the comps, if not all of them. I'm really excited for next season. I don't know who's going to do what competitions, but I think it'll be really nice just to compete in a World Cup season without the Olympics as well, because I think the Olympics, it makes people not do competitions and stuff. But I love competitions and I love training. So this year, when I start my like full-on winter training again, I'm trying to get in like the shape of my life. Obviously, the World Championships next year, and that is my main goal. I want to be in really good shape for that. And for me, being in my best shape is pretty much competing at most of the World Cups. Aside from that, I just really love competing, and it's a nice lifestyle, I think.
Yes.
But I think it's nice when more people do the competitions. It'd be cool to have a really competitive overall season.
No, I think that's the finest prize is winning the overall World Cup to me. I mean, outside the Olympic gold, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really happy to do it. It's been such a big goal of mine is to win the overalls, and to do it in lead this year was really nice. I know it's hard because not everyone did every competition, but still, it feels good. But it would be nice if it was super competitive. It would be nice if everyone did everything.
Exactly, and that's why I think also that the World Cup should be the qualification for the Olympics.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah, that would be really cool, I think.
Which everyone seems to think, except for I don't know, IOC maybe.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's not good for some sort of publicity thing. I'm not sure. But I don't know. For climbers, it makes sense.
Definitely. So I think we should move on from competitions now, because we have way more things. We said we'd get back to the outdoors, where I mean your, I guess, rise to fame started at 10 years old, and obviously the 9A plus you did now in Margalef is nowhere near your limit, because it went really quickly and it was like just getting back to outdoor climbing really. Now you're working Perfecto Mundo, and you're making great progress on that one, right? Yeah.
What was really nice about that 9A plus is that the last time I was on rock was 2 years ago, and that was the route I tried, that 9A plus, and I couldn't get it. So to come back and then send it within 3 days, I think was really satisfying, just to see that level of improvement. But obviously Gancho Perfecto is the first half of Perfecto Mundo. So to do that and now start working Perfecto Mundo is really nice. And I really love the moves on Perfecto. I absolutely love it. It's like super power endurancy. I think the really hard move, the mono move to the pinch is around move 46, 47. So it's like really power endurancy. And to be making good progress on that feels really good. It's almost hard to leave. I had to leave because my skin was getting bad, but I got super close. On my third day on, I almost stuck this crux move 3 times on that day. So whilst it's obviously really good training, I'm so excited to get back and see if I can get it, because that route has just been a dream route of mine for for so long. Out of every route I've ever like looked at, that has been the one which has drawn me in the most.
The pockets look heinous though.
Yeah, I just love it. Yeah, it's just so. This mono, just this move is just so nice. Like drain all of your power and then do a really powerful like mono campus move. It's just so satisfying.
But all right, if we can dream a little bit, you're obviously quite capable of doing this route.
I mean, you never know. I don't want to get complacent.
Okay,
I really.
okay. Well, let's not jinx it now. Yeah. But I mean, the level 9B plus is pretty clear. It's not your limit. Let's say. I mean, you've been outdoors for a week, right? Come on.
Yeah.
Or don't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I always like to push my limit, but I think I like to take it step by step. So
of course,
I'm focused on this route for now, and then if I manage to get this one, then I'll look onwards.
Right. But so you're not looking onwards for what you could possibly do or put up harder routes. So
yeah, I think yeah, I'd like to go to. I do really like Margalef and that Finestra cave. There's actually a project at the moment. I think you know Cafe Colombia, which is maybe 9C. Flat Hanger hasn't. I'd really like to go there. And obviously that's where Silence is, but Silence hasn't necessarily. It's not really drawn me in like Perfecto Mundo has. It's an incredible route, and like Andra doing that is insane. But it doesn't. It just looks a bit weird. Not weird, but it doesn't look like my type of climb. I don't think, in the sense that, in terms of enjoyment,
it's a particular style.
Yeah, a particular style. I say that. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to like try some like even harder stuff in the like the Finestra cave, Cafe Colombia. It looks really nice. Like, and even you know, Journey and Full Journey, which is just to the right of Perfecto Mundo, looks really nice. I really like pockets.
Yeah. Okay. So no BIG.
I've not actually looked at that one so much. I obviously watched Jakob do the send, but yeah, that looks it looks hard. That
yeah, but it probably is hard.
Yeah, I'd also love to go to Seiyus. I've never been to Seiyus, but the walking scares me.
You get someone to carry you.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
So, but now you are going back, or you will go back to Spain for finish the Perfecto Mundo. That's your main goal.
Yeah. So we've got a week back home. I'm doing like a local bouldering competition just for a bit of fun. I'm gonna do a bit of monos training, a bit of power endurance just on the board. But most importantly, just go back feeling fully fresh. Because the end of that the 10 days we were out there, I was quite tired. And I think the most important thing now, when I first went out there, my main goal was to do Gancho, and Perfecto Mundo I wasn't even really looking at that time. And the plan was to go back now and then check Perfecto Mundo out. Because I didn't know if I was going to need to train specifically for it, or I was going to need to do some mono training. But it turns out that I actually just need to go home and like rest up and recuperate, grow some skin, and then go back and then hopefully be able to send it. So right now it feels hard to be at home right now. Like I'm really itching to get back, but I know it's the best for me.
Do you check the conditions every day?
Yeah, it actually looks like the conditions are getting better. When we left when we were during our trip, the conditions weren't so good. It was quite hot. But now in the coming weeks, it looks like temperatures are getting lower. There's no rain and humidity is dropping, and there's a northern wind, which is what you want for Finestra to get the best conditions. So we'll see.
Cool. Fingers crossed then.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. So no boulders on your list?
Yeah, there was. So like I said, I like to focus on one thing. So I don't like to think about too many like other things whilst I'm trying a project. But bouldering is definitely the plan. I'd love to try Alphane. I've never actually fully outdoor bouldered before. I think that's the one discipline, or I guess maybe trad climbing or something. But outdoor bouldering is is the one discipline which I've not actually tried or done too much of. so Alpine will be definitely something I want to try, and it's also kind of a route as well.
Yeah, true. But when you say you haven't actually sort of tried outdoor bouldering, what does that actually mean? Have you bouldered 8B outdoors?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
I mean, I've done Hubble, which I think is like an AB plus boulder problem.
Okay. Yeah, right.
But I think my hardest boulder is probably like some 8A in font or something when I was younger. So when I say I have not outdoor bouldered, like I really haven't done too much at all, which is crazy to say actually, because I love bouldering and I love outdoors. So
I think you could be decent.
I'd love, yeah, I'd love to go out and even Magic Wood, just doing a lot of stuff there. I'd love to go and try. I'm just really psyched on most outdoor stuff at the moment. From not doing it for 2 years and then suddenly going outdoors, it's just got me so psyched. Just on everything, pretty much.
But in terms of trips, nothing's planned after Margalev.
There were some loose plans to go to maybe. No, nothing. I won't. There's nothing planned, but
okay.
I think the chances are I will end up outdoor bouldering somewhere.
Right.
How much time do you have actually before you start training again?
I'll start training in probably January time. I would maybe try and get a week in before Christmas, because I like to just do like a week of training, then have Christmas off, and then get back to it in the new year. But yeah, the new year is when my like full on like plan training will start, and then I won't outdoor climb anymore.
So this time of year when you don't train hard, say, I guess you slip into the gym once or twice. It happens, I guess. So let's say if you go to, this is a question from Instagram here, a long one. When you go to regular climbing, not specifically meant for pros, are you able to do all the problems of their hardest grade, or do sometimes cause you some issues? I'm really curious as to how hard problems in my gym that look impossible to me feel for a seasoned pro.
So that's I guess it depends what gym, but especially in the UK, pretty much every single gym in the UK, at the minute, I'll be able to do every single boulder and pretty much first go, which is a shame really, because it'd be nice to, like, we need some better training facilities, I guess, but it's slowly happening. We're slowly developing, I think, but at the minute, to get like proper hard boulders, I'd have to travel abroad, so like Innsbruck and Tokyo being the prime example. Honestly, if you flash the gym in Tokyo, then in B pump, then you're on something. That's that gym is crazy.
I love that video when you go there. Actually, it's such a good one.
Honestly, if you want to be humbled, then go to Tokyo. It's so nice just to go into a gym and just get shut down and be able to work at a problem all day. I love just projecting and stuff, and to go into a gym and flash everything is just so unsatisfying for me. I just don't like it. I know it can sound like that's a great problem to have, but for like when you're trying to train for the competitions, it's nice. It's so important to have hard boulders, and that's what we're going to be doing a lot of this winter, is trying to develop a lot of the training facilities in the UK. I'm trying to get a good spray wall sorted down where I live, so I can have some hard trainings with like my coach and stuff.
How do you train actually at the moment then, if you don't have like those facilities? Or
yeah, that's for the whole of the Olympics, preparations there, we were basically just traveling and stuff. What I find is when I come home is when I do most of my resting. The gyms are like, they're okay for like one session. Like I can go on the kilter board, I can do the boulders in the center, I can make some stuff up quickly. But yeah, it's really difficult. But this winter, I'm hoping to, we're sort of maybe planning to make like a really good spray wall that I can train at. Because also I want to be able to train at home and have it like as a base, because you don't want to be having to do your training away from home, because that's just, it makes you tired.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be nice to get that sorted this winter. But other than that, yeah, I basically travel all the time to get on hard boulders. I guess now that I'm training for outdoors, I can do a lot of it on a fingerboard and a wooden board, and that's totally fine, because it's outdoor climbing. You don't need like these crazy bouldering moves and stuff. It's just about yeah, just doing a bit of campusing and getting yourself up the wooden board.
Right. But so when you train hard, so can others push you to climb harder, or is it more or less yourself that can drive you? Push?
I think throughout pretty much my whole climbing career, I've almost exclusively trained alone. I do really like training alone. Like I have quite a lot of self-drive in that sense, that I love pushing myself. And to me, training, I just love training. It's so satisfying to me. Like getting yourself up in the morning and doing a long day's training, and then coming back exhausted. I just find it's so like, yeah, I find it really satisfying. But definitely recently, I've been I really like climbing with other people, because it's really nice just to have like a group spray wall session and climb with people who are good at things that you're not. You can make so many improvements, I think. But yeah, I really like climbing with other people. It's really nice, and climbing's such a collaborative sport as well. So to be able to go to the gym with your friends and spend all day there, it just doesn't necessarily feel like training. But for when it comes to like the really, really hard training, like the really long days during the winter, that's when I like doing it alone and just getting it done, really.
So what's your weakness actually then?
Weakness.
Yes.
Obviously slabs were a big weakness of mine, but I turn that into a strength, I think. But at the minute, I think there's some weird coordination moves. Like did you watch the Prague semi-finals? Like the jump across this big red volume?
Yes.
Things like that. Like the really modern style of coordination, I think, and I think I need to work on that, which is a big thing this winter. And just really executing at the top level. Like I've looked at like Serato, obviously, he's the prime example of just flashing everything. Like if he can do it, then he'll flash it. It's just really cool to see, and that's definitely something which I'm going to work on this winter. Is just being able to just flash stuff and being able to execute stuff, because it's such an important part of competitions. Obviously, not wasting attempts, which is something which I've been doing. I've in my last competitions in bouldering, I've wasted quite a lot of attempts, and it cost me quite a lot. So I'm excited to work on that.
I guess that has a lot to do with your head, though, like believing in what you're doing, right?
Exactly, yeah. But also time on those sorts of boulders. If you've climbed on a lot of those similar moves, I guess you sort of subconsciously know you can do it, and I guess you sort of build up like a move bank in your head. I guess you can't do every single move in climbing; it's impossible. But you can work all the different styles and be able to adapt, find ways to adapt really quickly.
So do you watch the videos after the competition, like not just yourself but another athletes as well?
Yeah. So normally I'm watching, like after the finals and stuff, I'm watching like how the other athletes did, how they did it better than me. It's quite funny. After most competitions, or like a series of competitions, my dad almost creates like a lowlights of me, all of my fails and all of my miserable like sort of times and boulders, and we then take that video and then we can then use it for my training, to show it to my coaches and then get those boulders set, which I just sucked out of the competition. So it's quite a good way of improving, I think.
Yes. So serious question now. How much do you bench?
Gosh, I think there's a very small part of my winter training where I do a little bit of bench work, but it's not impressive. I just think it's got to be like, I think my max was probably like 70 kilos or something. 70, 75 kilos at like my very max. 70 kilo, I don't know. But I remember Megos saying like he did like 100 kilo bench, which is insane. That's
I think Adam only did like 65 and 70, he said.
Oh really? Oh, okay, so it's not so bad then. Yeah.
Good company.
I don't think benching is climbers' forte, really. Actually, I think there's some people who are pretty strong at bench. That's probably a bit harsh. I watched a video of I think Megos, Alex Megos, he was talking about how when he was it lockdown when he did loads of bench work, and then he got like massive pecs, and then he got on the slabs, and then it was almost like pushing him out. It's quite funny. But yeah, I don't do a massive amount of bench work. I do quite a lot of weighted exercises in the winter, but not massively bench.
Particularly, what do you do most?
I get a lot of obviously weighted pull-ups, but like rack pulls, that sort of stuff. Just it's not for like climbing strength. It's just to like build like a solid body that it's not going to break. Because of obviously all of the crazy moves that we get in like bouldering and stuff, it's so important to have a resilient body. So I find that doing a lot of strength and conditioning during the winter time really helps me sustain and be able to handle a season's climbing and training.
Yeah, I remember the boulder in the finals in the bricks, and I was the shoulder.
The bricks, and yeah,
wow, that was crazy. I was like feeling the pain myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moments like that where I look back to my winter's training and all the conditioning I did. It's like, oh, thank God you did all of that.
And also first final problem in Prague, where you were in this position for a very long time.
Oh yeah, this one with the palm.
Yeah.
See, it's things like that I got to get better at. I got to be able to execute better and just go for it and then stick the position straight away. So it's things like that I want to improve on.
So we're on to other stuff now. So after a really hard session, do you often wish that you could tag along with your dad to the pub, or do you?
I save those moments for after the competitions, after the wins and stuff. I think I do love that training routine. Sort of wake up, do everything you can to maximize training, go to sleep early. It's obviously you got to be diligent, I think. But it's also really nice after a competition. I think it's so important just to unwind, and just have that downtime. So after the Olympics, after the like Copper World Cup, yeah, I did go out. I did have a good time. I think it's so important not to be constantly in that mindset. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable. So there's times where obviously most of the time, all the time, I'm like incredibly diligent with my training, do everything I can to be in the best shape of my life. And then after the competitions, when it's time to relax and unwind, like I allow myself to do that, which is important, I think. And even on the off season, just outdoor climbing is so important for me. Just it helps me unwind and reset.
Right. So this is completely mixed stuff. What's your favorite shoe and why?
Climbing shoe.
I guess yes.
Yeah. Well, at the minute I'm using the 510 High Angle Pro. I really like it. It's got like the wrapped. Do you know sort of the inside sole it's got like a no edge on it, which I really like for like wrapping volumes and stuff. But even in right now outdoor climbing, because they're so soft, I find they like mold into the pockets really well. But that's my shoe. And if I need something stiffer, then I just use the original High Angle.
And how many sizes downsized your shoe?
Oh well, I think with Adidas they're actually quite accurate to shoe size. So I think I'm a UK 8 in shoe size, and I climb in UK 7. I'm not sure what that would be in EU.
Yeah.
Oh, I've actually got
the shoe there.
The shoe.
Ah, perfect.
I don't know why this was on the sofa behind me, but gosh, what does that say? 40 and a half.
40 and a half. Okay.
Yeah, 40 and a half.
I noticed Sorato is wearing socks and you are not.
I don't know what those are about. Yeah. A lot of the Japanese seem to wear those tiny little socks actually. I don't know if they're socks or if they're almost like ballet, like those things you have ballet dancers use. Like they're really thin. Maybe as a hygiene thing. I'm not sure.
So what's the easiest boulder route you've failed to on-site recently?
Oh, easiest. Gosh, that's a probably like an 8A, I think. I think the 8A probably. I think 8A route. Yeah, that's a hard question. I actually can't. I don't really keep track of what I fall off too much.
Here's one from Instagram. Height, weight.
So I'm once.
Don't give us any stones now, please.
Yeah, metric.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do the conversion. So I'm 170 centimeters. Is that what you centimeters?
Yes.
170 centimeters and like 59 kilos.
Right. Do you are you strict about your diet? Do you follow some? Do you have to care?
I just around my training and stuff. I just try to eat like good food, like home cooked food most of the time. But I'm not super strict. I find that especially around competitions, it's so hard to stick to like anything strict because you're always traveling. That I just I sort of let that part be more relaxed.
Yeah, and I suppose if you train really hard, I mean,
yeah, it doesn't really like matter too much. Obviously, try to get a lot of protein and stuff, and just
get enough. And on a related question, what's the breakfast of champions?
Oh, it's always eggs.
Eggs.
Eggs are a power food. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have another question from Instagram. Who do you think is the best British climber who isn't in the team?
Oh, probably it's got to be like Will Bosey.
Mm-hmm.
Will Bosey, Aidan Roberts. I mean, we got some pretty strong climbers in Britain, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, like it's also so difficult to compare the outdoor climbing with competition climbing. It's I mean, competition climbers would definitely do really well on rock, whereas the opposite is not necessarily true, right? I mean, Will has done really well on competitions as well, but
yeah, I think that's true. I think competitions can translate onto rock quite well. It just takes a bit of adapting time. But I guess if you take someone who's only ever outdoor climbed and then stick them on a competition boulder, it's like, what is this? This isn't even climbing.
No way.
So I guess that's why so many ex-competition climbers just end up being such strong outdoor climbers. Like obviously Will came from competitions and now he's like the best, or if not like one of the best boulderers in the world. So yeah, it translates quite well, I think.
Is it tempting to go down that road like sooner or later?
The outdoor road?
Yeah.
No. I love competitions. Yeah. I always want outdoor climbing. I never want to give that up. But I also always want to competition climb. I just love them both so much. At the minute, I obviously choose to do all the World Cups, and during the competition season, I'm fully focused on competitions. I can never focus on both. I know a lot of people do the World Cups and then they go outdoor bouldering, like in between a World Cup or something. I could never ever do that. Once I'm focused on something, like I'm fully focused. So now I'm fully focused on outdoor climbing. And during the competition season, I'm fully focused on competition climbing.
Does that go for everything you do, like at like school or whatever? Was it the same thing there?
Yeah, I think I've got, I guess in that way, quite an addictive personality. Once I start something, like I just want to finish it. Even if I start reading a book, like I just want to finish it like as quickly as possible. Like once I start something, I don't like letting it go.
Actually, about the school, what do? You do just climbing, or do you still study, or?
At the minute, I'm just climbing. So I think school is really important during your like younger years. I stopped school at 16 years old actually, to fully focus on like the Olympics and training. But I think there's stories of people who are leaving school at like 10, 11. I just don't think I think it's good to have that routine up to a point. It's good to like learn about different life skills and that sort of stuff. And I remember waking up early, going to school, and then finishing school at like 5, 6 p.m., having dinner in the car, going training, getting back at like 10, 11 p.m., being shattered, waking up the next morning, and it's just such a routine. And I think it really helps to like help you learn about life, basically. So I am happy I went to school when I was younger, but obviously it gets to a point when you are training, you are competing against like professionals. These people are doing the sport for their life. So I think you have to make that sacrifice at some point. I mean, it's not a sacrifice to me, because I just love climbing so much and it was the right way to go. But yeah, I'm happy I'm not in school at the minute.
And speaking of that, you being a professional climber, you mentioned your dad and Liam, was it right?
Liam,
and who else is on your team? If you like, not only your trainers, I guess you have other people around you as well.
Well, I think my dad and Liam are the two like main people in the team, and we don't necessarily have too many other people who like I see who are like fundamental parts of the process. There's just a lot of different pieces. So like sometimes you might need some setting done for all or something, and then you bring someone in. I might need some physio work, and then you bring someone in. But I find it's best just to keep it as the team as small as possible for me, so there's not so many different things going on. You don't have to keep track of so many different things. So it is quite a small team, and we sort of bring in different parts when it's needed, I think.
It's probably smart. And these like, so these people are sort of supported by you. Is that how it works, or?
I guess it's quite hard because a lot of like the funding and stuff within the team is all a bit complicated and all of that. So it's quite it's a whole different like rabbit hole and stuff. But at the minute we're we just try and sort of outsource it. And so we did I don't know if you saw the video on my channel about like the Rock City training we did in that video, where there's like a training camp with the Japanese guys. Like all of that was organized like separately, and it's just a lot of training camps like that, traveling all over the place. At the minute we're having to travel to train instead of bringing the training to us. So in the future it would be nice to sort of have a base like I was speaking about earlier, and sort of bring people into our sort of base and train with them. But at the minute we are having to go to Japan, we are having to go to Innsbruck to be able to get the best training possible. And it's obviously a bit of a compromise, but we've made it work.
And I guess you can then what you bring home from all these travels makes it possible to create the best possible training environment at home.
Yeah, we've learned so much from training on all of these different places. From all of this knowledge we've got over the last 2-3 years of training and all of these places we visited, we know so much more about training, what it takes to be like at the top of your game, what you need to have. So now I start to develop a bit more and get a bit older. It's going to be really cool to sort of create my training environment, because right now I've been sort of like tapping into a lot of other people's, a lot of other systems and support networks. But I think it'll be cool to start to establish my own.
Is it easier for you now to get like better conditions from those sponsors and stuff after Olympics, or is it big change for you?
Yeah, so I've there's definitely been I signed with Red Bull just before the Olympics actually, and that's my first main sponsor really. So that's really nice. That's really helpful. And then with the Olympics and getting the gold, obviously there's funding opportunities and stuff, which is not all set in stone yet. We're working a lot of it out, but hopefully, it'd be nice to have enough to create like a proper training program for the LA cycle.
Right. Actually, when just before we started here, Vladek took a look at the document that you have in front of me here, and he was like, "Björn, I mean, are you serious? This is going to take 6 hours." And that's how much questions we have. But really? I think that we have 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I think we should draw the line here. And thank you so much for your time. Because we could sit there for 4 more hours, and that's. I
can't believe it's gone quite quick.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Toby, and we wish you all the best for the future, obviously, and hope to see you on the circuit, if not before.
Thank you, and thank you guys for all of the photos and everything on the competitions. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
our pleasure.
Really nice.
Yeah. It was great to have you, and yeah, if you will be trying Alpine, just let me know.
I will, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, great to speak to you.
Okay,
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Ciao.
bye.
Bye,
Tom.
Steve. Bye.
Bye.